you put me through it. Like,
No, you go to Timmy's, you get your double and your Timbits, and then you go down to the corner store and you pick up your 2-6 for the weekend.
and I will say I've like learned that there are certain genres of people that like I won't travel with anymore.
You look at their profile and you're like, damn, she's cute or he cute. Let's go on a trip together.
I was rear-ended by a snowmobile.
It just became this like big, profound experience for me.
Welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered Adventures. I'm Steven.
And I'm Giselle.
And we are also known as the Lover's Passport. And today we have Nikki and Nikki here to be on our podcast with us. And they're actually the first guests we've ever had
In
here
studio.
in the house.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I feel
Welcome,
so
Nickies.
honored.
Yeah, hello.
We're going with Nikki Squared.
Yeah.
Nikki Squared.
Nikki Squared.
I've coined that term.
This is their podcast debut together.
Yeah.
So we're honored to have both of you. We have Nikki Tomlin and Lil Nikki.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting. How did you guys meet, actually? I'm very curious because I know we kind of talked about earlier, like we'd known Nikki. I think we get connected over Instagram and it was like a very
Years ago
random,
now.
like, hey, do you
Yeah.
want to send Firefall? And Nikki was just the most down person. She literally drove
That was.
Nikki Tomlin.
Yeah, Nikki Tomlin literally drove from South
South
Dakota
Dakota.
all the way to Firefall. And that was also when we met our other buddy Dalton. That was just like the Sendy squad. Everyone
Yeah.
was like, we're just going for it.
Yeah. I just was like, yep, whatever, sounds great. And I think I was living in Colorado at the time, actually. So I drove from Colorado technically,
so-
but same distance, still 20 hours. I just was like, I'm going to send it by myself. Nikki and I met, I don't even know how I
The
found
internet.
your content, but Instagram.
I usually like follow Nikki's back because
yeah.
I feel like it's just I don't want to say cult, but like
It is
the
like-
Nikki crew is kind of cool.
Yeah.
If you guys
There's
are
quite a
Nikki
few.
and you're listening, you need to go follow little Nikki.
Yeah.
That's all I'm
be
saying.
friends.
Expect to
Yes.
follow back.
You can do a meetup, but only if you're named Nikki can you come.
Yeah.
That would be so fun.
It's gonna
Doesn't
be
matter
Nick-
how it's spelled. I'll take any spelling.
variation.
Yeah, because we do spell it differently. It's an
Yeah.
Nikki here.
N-I-K-I. Short
Yeah.
and sweet.
So.
But okay, so going to Starbucks, I've gotten N-I-C-K-Y, I've gotten N-I-K-K-I-E, I've gotten N-I-K-I, I've gotten
I don't think
N-Y.
And your name's not that complicated.
It's not.
Wait,
It's really.
Imagine
Why?
Giselle
Yeah, I got
at Starbucks.
N-Y-K-I-E one time.
Okay,
and I was
but the
like,
amount of times that I don't even get Nikki, I get Mickey or Vicky
Yeah.
is like,
I get Gazelle. I get Jizzle. I get Jazzle. Steven gets some fun ones too.
I was
like,
like,
does
does Steven get fun ones?
Because he's a PH. He's not a Steven with a V. So I
Yeah.
feel like you get some fun ones too.
all over the place.
Yeah, but I feel like people can't like verbally misunderstand Steven.
Oh, I get just everything. So
I feel like yours is
take the cake.
definitely gets mixed up the most out of all of ours.
The girl at Lululemon today spelled my name correctly on the mirror in the dressing room, and I was so impressed.
You know, that's why we shop
Shout out
at Lulu.
Lululemon.
Yeah, let's go.
Catch me wearing my new fit, guys. Thanks,
Mine's in the
Lulu.
mail.
Yeah.
I didn't buy anything.
Yeah,
One
I
of
think
us
one of
has
the
to be.
coolest things about Instagram is that you get to meet so many people that are like-minded and they're from all over the world that we wouldn't necessarily meet just like in California. So it's amazing that a platform can connect you all so easily. And then I just think a lot of people focus a lot on the negative of Instagram, but
Shout
there
out to
is a lot
Threads.
of positive. Like Nikki literally came. I gotta stop saying Nikki because both
Yeah.
no, you need
But-
to say Nikki and Lil Nikki.
Okay,
There we
I
that's
think
how
go.
we'll
that's
do
the
it.
easiest way.
So
Yeah.
Nikki literally came to our wedding.
Yeah.
We all got like super close. She's gone on a ton of trips with us. She was there when we got engaged.
Yeah.
I
I literally live in your house now.
yeah. Now Nikki moves in. That's our hard launch. Nikki moved in with us.
Surprise.
So yeah, we
Hello.
now have a content creator house. We're like the travel hype house now.
Yeah.
I like
We
it.
just have
Even though it's only three of
healthy
us.
relationships with each other.
I think
Yes.
that I'm very curious so obviously we've all met tons of different creators on the road and different tourism gigs on fam trips, all even on the internet, like when you're DMing people, what makes you think, okay, I'm going to be friends with this person. I trust this person to go on a trip with them. Is it like you look at their profile and you're like, damn, she's cute or he cute. Let's go on a trip together. Or is it like, how do you
get to real life?
Because I think I know how we decide, okay, this person isn't just a creep. I'm totally down to go road trip with them or down to drive from Colorado to California to go on a trip. I'm curious, how do you get to the trust factor?
Because we have a few prerequisites, but I'm curious to hear yours.
I don't follow someone unless I click on their stories and I relate to something. So like, and then from there, I usually like start to like develop some kind of like, oh yeah, I trust them in a way where I'm like, what you're sharing makes me feel seen. And then I think that's how I ended up just like messaging you at some point, is like something you shared or whatever.
I would love to go back to like our first DMs and just know when and what the heck we said to each other.
Yeah. Because but that's usually like what gets me is like people's relatability in their stories. I feel like now with the way social media is going, it's easier to find that in the feed. People are being more real, like on the surface. So
We hope.
yeah, we hope. But I would say that's probably like how I do it. And when it came down to like Yosemite, it was just one of those things where I had met so many people who had met you guys that by the time, and then like we had talked enough DM that by the time you guys were like, hey, you just want to send it? And I was also just like not in a good place in life. So I was like, yeah, let me just like escape and like, let's just ignore all responsibilities and like go to Yosemite, even though I probably shouldn't. But like, I always want to see Firefall. So like, send it. Why
Still
not?
on the list. Haven't done it yet. But
Oh,
I'll get
we
there.
got it. We'll text you next time we're going.
I know. We went 2 years in a row, and then we were like, we can wait a little bit now that we've done it twice. Like the first
Yeah.
year was really cool because we went for our anniversary, and we just like didn't know it was Firefall. Like we booked it not knowing it was Firefall season. We just wanted to go for our anniversary.
This is how amateur we were.
I
Back
know.
then.
Back in the day, this was like in 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
No.
It was 2021 because we had like just started the Lover's Passport. We would have gone to Yosemite anyway. We just wanted to go during winter for our anniversary. And then while we were planning the trip, Giselle was doing research.
I was like, oh,
wait,
shoot.
I think Firefall is going to be at the same time we were there. And it ended up working out.
The only day we
perfectly.
saw it, we were there for like a couple days. The only day we saw it was on our anniversary too.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like,
so
that was our
special.
like second anniversary together. Yeah, it was cute.
That was a magical moment.
The second time was the time we went with you. And I still feel like it was really cool. It's a really bonding experience. You're there with like thousands of people all shooting the same exact thing. It's
Yeah,
kinda
and
like,
I think like that was actual trauma bonding for me to you guys because you put me through it. Like
the tree comes down.
but it was like one of those things where I'm like, okay, I just drove 20 hours and then like I got there and you guys had a tent for me and I had like brought stuff to sleep in, but it was so cold and I was sleeping by myself and I literally got up out of the tent the first night and went to my car because I was so cold. My body
so
was
remember
like,
that.
wouldn't let me like
Freezing.
fall asleep. And then the next morning, I don't know if it was you or Dalton, Steven, but like I was walking out of my car to come back to camp with my stuff and I scared the shit out of you. Can I cuss on your podcast?
Oh yeah, we're unfiltered. This is unfiltered adventures.
But like I scared whoever it was and they were like, whoa, I didn't know you were over there. I was like, yeah, I slept in my car.
It's probably Steven. That sounds like a Steven response.
Because I was so cold. And then like the next night, I think I slept with all of your guys' sleeping bags in the yurt. But you had us up like from before the sun came up to like well after it went down. And we walked the valley like 14 times a day.
We usually do like 15 miles a day in Yosemite.
Yeah, and
that's
I just,
that's what
like,
we track.
What did I know about sending it with you guys?
I was
And
gonna
now
say,
I know.
Now
I
the
know.
people listening know, like, especially back then, we go hard on
Hard.
those trips.
Well, especially because we weren't doing it full time. So when we were out there, we were like trying to get as much as
content.
possible so we could come back. And that was when we were like full grind mode. I think we maybe had 100K and we were like,
That was before I quit my
No,
job.
no.
Yeah.
I think you guys were hitting like a bigger milestone than that because we were all like waiting every lick of service we got.
Oh,
we were, like,
no, that
this
was
is
300K.
this is 2022.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was thinking 2021 back when we were doing that.
Everything
Okay.
kind of meshes together
I
after
know,
that.
it's
Yeah.
crazy.
I don't remember what I did last week, so
Well, I mean, you tell us where you've been. I remember you walked in the house and you were like, "Yeah, I've been in 5 different continents in the past month." I was like, "What?"
okay, 3 months. It was the last
Okay,
3
okay.
months.
Still.
For those that think I'm American, I'm not. First of all, I'm Canadian and I'm just
Here for the
traveling
vibes.
and
I feel
bopping
like
around.
you're one of the only Canadians I've talked to that hasn't been like A or something like that. Like, oh, it's a good AA, you know?
So, yeah, I think West Coast Canadians don't say it as much as East Coast Canadians do. But I've been told that like I don't use it.
The only time it comes out is when you're doing the like the bags.
Bags.
The bags.
I say bags, and then there's
Your out is a little Canadian.
out is Canadian, garburator, parkade.
The garburator, I think, is still the coolest thing. And what is the garburator? It's not a part of a car.
The garbage disposal.
Garbage
disposal,
disposal.
okay.
Yeah, and then you park your car in a parkade. Not a
See, that
parking
just sounds
garage.
cool. Like, I feel like that's like a Star Wars. Like,
reminds-
I parked the Starship in the parkade. That sounds like
Yeah,
way
I
cooler.
get it. Exactly.
KitchenAid. I think of KitchenAids. You think
Yeah.
of Star Wars. All right.
I
And
think
then
of like Gatorade.
Gatorade, yeah, and then our bottles of like alcohol, like a normal size bottle of alcohol, is a 2.6 because
Yeah,
there's
that's-
26 ounces. It's 2.6.
It sounds like a type of wood. Like, oh yeah, go pick up a 2.6 or 2x4. You know.
No, you go to Timmy's, you get your double and your Timbits, and then you go down to the corner store and you pick up your 2.6 for the weekend.
Okay,
The
that
way you
sounded
lost,
very
even.
Canadian.
The way you
the-
lost,
what
even.
did you just say?
I'm speaking Canadian, okay?
Steven and I both just like,
I followed.
Thank you.
You getting some Tim Hortons, you know?
Timmy Hose, you know?
Yeah. I got you.
But anyways, yeah, so I left my house, I think January 7th, 8th, or 9th, one of those days in there. And I went from Vegas to Utah to Hawaii to Japan, back to Salt Lake for Super Bowl. Big
Can't miss Super Bowl.
fan. And then we drove to Kanab to repack our suitcases and flew to Dubai, sent it to Nepal, then we went to Oman, and then we were in Abu Dhabi for like a hot second, and then the coolest trip of the year so far is Socotra.
Which is so mind blowing for me. I feel like it's so new.
It is and it isn't. Like it's just kind of blowing up on Instagram right now, or I guess social media in general. But oh my God, wild, amazing, crazy, beautiful, fantastic destination. I think everyone should go experience it, especially before like
It gets too popular.
it gets too popular or just shuts down completely. But yeah, then Socotra was done. We were back in Dubai and then flew all the way back to Kanab.
This is all in 3 months. That
This
is
is all in
mind
3
blowing.
months.
Man, I thought that
And-
we'd done like 26 flights this year, and I thought that was a lot. Like
I'm
this
probably
sound-
close. I'm probably close to that. But yeah, now I'm here in LA and we're going to Singapore tomorrow.
let's go.
The life of travel creators. I honestly think a lot of people don't realize how much we're actually on the move and how much we're working on the move. Like, it is a
Yeah.
grind to be able to run a full business and travel that much.
The
Yeah.
time change and emails and
The
how
way
much-
my brain implodes like almost every day.
I thought
Yeah.
the one interesting fact. What country did you say that you were in where it was 15 minutes difference on the time
Oh.
zones compared to like being on the hour? That blew my mind.
Nepal. So when we were in Nepal, I don't exactly know how big the time difference was, but I think from Dubai it was 3 hours and 45 minutes.
Which that's just so.
It was either
weird.
3 hours and 45 minutes or 3 hours and 15 minutes. I can't really remember, but yeah, there was like a 15-minute difference, and I'm 90% sure it's because they wanted to separate themselves from India.
So interesting.
I think that's what it was. Yeah, it was confusing to my brain.
That
It would
makes-
confuse anyone, honestly.
Anyway, so from you guys traveling and all of this stuff, what do you guys think? Like, I know Nikki, you travel with mainly guys and all the Utah bros, and then
The Utah Bros.
I feel like they were on one of our first episodes of the podcast.
No, the first episode of our podcast,
we
we
did-
broke down the travel industry into categories.
We did it the Instagram stereotypes. There's like the dress people. There's like we broke it all down. Go listen to that.
The Utah Bros is their own segment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
they
then
are.
I'm curious so as you guys are traveling together like with girls, do you guys prefer to travel like just girls, just guys, like a good mix? Like is it very different when you're like, let's say it
With
was
couples,
instead of
perhaps?
the Utah instead of the Utah Bros, if it was like 8 girls all traveling through Utah, do you think
I really don't think I've ever seen like a group of like 8 creator girlies all traveling together.
This was like way before I was doing the Instagram gig, and I've done a group trip with, I want to say, about 15 girls
wow.
to Nashville.
Oh,
Sounds like a
wow.
bachelorette
That sounds
party.
even crazier.
And it was so much fun. Like the trip was so much fun, but it was so much chaos at the same time that it was a little bit much for me.
Chaos is like Nikki's.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say.
Oh my
Forte.
God. We can get into that after. Oh my God. Singapore.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it's gonna be wild.
gonna be fine. But yeah, if I'm gonna travel with girls, it has to be a 4 or less.
Okay.
I think.
I feel like for me, it would boil down to like, you gotta know. I feel like I've traveled with such a wide variety of people in the sense of like just sending on a group trip or like just a random pairing or whatever.
I'm think out of the 4, I don't know how many other people you've traveled, but I feel like you might have traveled with the most different people. We were to go from like A plus B equals C, like how many dozens?
Yeah, I just kind of send it. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, somebody wants to go. They got the send it energy, like whatever, let's go. And I will say I've like learned that there are certain genres of people that like I won't travel with anymore. And
There's
like,
regular friends and then there's travel friends.
yeah,
Like some of
sure.
my best friends I do not travel with because we have uncompatible
Yeah.
travel styles.
yeah,
Yeah.
and there's certain things in that regard that I'm like, oh, I don't know, but I can't say that I've really traveled with a lot of guys, like in a sense to like have the experience that I know you've had. Nikki,
I've
like,
traveled with way more dudes than I have girls.
yeah, I can't say I've had that experience, but I think that mostly stems from like the people that I ended up traveling with are like couples, and it's like the guys are there, but like we're all just bouncing off of each other. And then even like the trip I just did to Patagonia was like a group trip with a bunch of strangers. We had one dude in the group that was
it?
like, well, we had one dude that was like signed up to be part of the group trip, the guy who owned the company who organized the group trip, and then our one male guide.
Wow.
And then the rest was all females. And it was amazing.
I feel like most group trips are honestly mostly female.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm just speaking from like the guy perspective. I would much rather just go with my homies than like sign up for a group trip compared to like if you're a girl, I feel like it's a very safe, easy way to travel
Well,
around
It's
the
a
world.
much more comfortable situation.
Yeah, exactly.
I just saw some like article or statistic, something that came out that it said like 64% of solo travelers, are females. So like
I could see that.
There's not even really a lot of men out there in comparison just going for it.
I'm curious.
Solo, at least.
I'm curious what the
Yeah.
percentage would be if you took like out of all the people out traveling, if there's more females or more males right now going around.
Yeah, I don't know. But
I feel like we've
But like there's
mostly
just so
females.
much like when you're traveling as a solo female, because I did a lot more solo female travel before I met Steven. Like when I
Yeah.
was 18, I was just bopping around Europe by myself. There's so much more that goes into traveling as a solo female than it does as a
Yes.
couple. Like I feel the way I traveled as like just like my personality and how I was approaching things and my I don't know, like perspective on things was totally different when I was traveling alone at 18 through Europe with usually it was like with my roommate from my study abroad program or our other friend who we're going to see in her wedding next week. So that's exciting. But like I was always on alert, like so always like scanning our surroundings and making sure like we weren't getting followed because we did get followed a few times. And like when I'm with you, I can just turn my brain off on that safety department because I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
realistically, it's not going to happen where someone's going to come up and like follow us. And plus, he's a 6th degree black belt, so I feel like so safe.
Yeah, you're-
traveling with
you're good.
Steven.
I feel like sometimes I'm not too confident, but like I just don't think anything bad.
He's
Like
done all this training.
People always
See, like-
comment to like, "How do you leave your tripod like way over there?" Or "How are you so comfortable?" And I'm just like,
I'm like, if someone even tried, Steven bust their ass up. Like, I really do think he could
Facts.
outperform anyone in that department.
I think the closest I've ever got to like shutting my brain off is like traveling with you guys. And I don't even think about like Steven having all of his skills. I just think like there's enough confidence between the three of us that like people just generally don't.
Avoid us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Groups are also better too.
yeah.
very true, very true.
And I do feel like there have been like I never fully shut my brain off, but there have been points where like I'm looking around and then like I'll just look at Steven and I'll be like, he ain't worried about it. I'm not gonna worry about it. like I'm like, he ain't clocking it, it's fine.
No, I'm like such the pessimist when it comes to traveling in terms of like looking at other people. I'm like, is this person gonna follow us? Is this person gonna rob us? Is this person gonna like
Yeah,
I
but
have
that's-
all those negative
Yeah.
thoughts in my head and he's just like la di da di da.
I mean, this could be a good segue into like our luck and stuff, but I have not that I have zero faith in people anymore, but after getting my phone stolen, I am on such high
Okay,
alert.
I feel like
You have to tell the story.
because I feel like that is one thing. Nikki's luck the past couple.
Okay,
the
Both of us.
Okay,
Also
Lil
both of
Nikki.
us.
Lil
Literally.
Nikki has bad luck and Nikki has chaos.
Yeah.
So,
So,
together
a
they're a
trip
perfect
together.
storm.
Yeah, we got a couple trips together this year, and we're gonna see how
We're gonna
this.
see. But I
maybe
think
it'll-
our bad luck is gonna just cancel each other out.
There
Yeah.
you go.
You don't need
So
to
it's gonna
flip a
be good.
kayak this year, Nikki.
No flipping
more
kayaks.
Flipping kayaks.
But anyways, so one thing that happened last year, I feel like last year was just my unlucky year. I turned 30, and
Girl, you
the
went through
day after I turned 30, I was in Iceland on a job, and my ankle was broken within like 6 hours of landing in Iceland.
And not like broken, like shattered.
Like shattered.
Shattered in
Like
3
obliterated.
places. I
That's
have 4
insane.
screws in my leg now. Good times, good times. I was rear-ended by a snowmobile, but the snowmobile just kind of like went into my ankle and was like, if you'd like to
Ouch.
see it, it is my only pinned reel on my Instagram. It's on, I had a 360 camera going. I got every angle.
You got it on camera?
Yeah.
We've
I've definitely
seen
not
this
watched that.
video.
You
Yeah.
haven't seen it?
No.
Oh my God.
The way I live for when she like reposts it, or like every time
Every
I click on
year.
your page, I'll like literally go and look
We got
at
the
it.
full in story like telling in person. So I feel like I didn't
Yeah.
have to go watch it, but I didn't know it was posted.
Yeah, this lady, girl, whatever you want to call her, had an entire glacier to drive her little snowmobile on, and she just decided to go like with my ankle.
Smack you like a
Anyways,
little bug.
a little bit of a grudge there, but it's fine. Yeah, so that happened in March, and then I sat on my ass for like 3 months, actually like 2.5, and I had surgery April 1st, got my cast off May 17th or 18th, and I was in Mexico by like June 7th. So
Wow.
I got
Worked
my
it.
butt back out
You
there.
worked it.
But anyways, so that happened and everything was all good. And then we went on this awful cruise. Awful cruise. I won't go into much detail, but it was the worst cruise ever, and it was terrible. And
We're gonna
sucked,
redeem that
and
later
We're
this
gonna
year.
redeem that later this year.
Iceland
so-
and your cruise. We're doing it in one go.
yeah, we're just gonna
It's
redo
okay
it all
because
over again.
Norwegian's the best. So
Yeah.
all I'm saying.
I'm very,
I've heard great things. So
very
I'm very
stoked
excited.
for that. So that was that, and then I ended up in Colombia for all of like 6 hours again, and my phone got stolen like right out of my hand by some dude on a bike. I don't know what kind of bike it was. Like I don't
Like a
know,
motorcycle?
dirt
Like
bike
an
type
e-bike
thing.
or something.
So what I'm hearing is when you get there, you just need to go to the hotel for
If-
6 hours and
If
just
I
stay
make
inside.
it through the first day, like
You're good.
I'm good. After that, everything is fine. Everything is good. I just have to make it through the first day. So-
Nikki, be her bodyguard for the first 24
I'm
hours in
like
Singapore.
literally. There's so many things we're gonna have to do to like make sure shit goes.
I just sit in a
smoothly.
bubble on the
Yeah.
first day. We're going to a spa. Like, how bad can it be?
One of us could drown in the pool beforehand.
So-
Don't put that into the universe.
What I was told is that there's thunderstorms every day in
Oh, yeah,
Singapore.
yeah, yeah.
So you know,
It's
best of
fine.
luck.
Whatever. It's fine.
It's gonna be great. It's
And
gonna
then
be fun.
last year, Nikki also had a ton of chaotic trips while she was living with our friend Chas, who we had on in season 1. If you guys want to go check out that episode, but you guys had quite the year last year too.
Yeah, we really did. I think truly it started when we came to go to the Channel Islands with you guys, and we accidentally flipped a fucking kayak.
Dude, it was
Honestly,
so
I still
crazy.
want to blame Steven for it. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh my God.
I feel like there's got to be some preface to that story because they rolled up. Chas like did not bring any layers whatsoever, so I had all these extra layers with me because they were cold. She puts them all on because we're about to go kayaking, and I was like, okay, well that's all I got. Like I hope you're warm.
And I remember they got in the
No.
kayak and they were like, "This feels a little unstable." And I was like, "It's a blow-up kayak."
I
Like
don't
it
even
just.
think we said that. I think it was
No,
like
you
one
got
of
in
those
and it
things
was
that-
like 30 seconds later.
Oh, no.
No, it wasn't. It was 3 seconds later, G. Like, there was
Oh my
no
God.
waiting. Like literally, I got in it and I wasn't like fully settled in it. Like I was like, oh, but it was my first time I think in an inflatable kayak. So I was like, I'm just not. I don't get it yet.
Yeah,
so I
like,
was like,
pushed you guys in. And
yeah,
then
and you let
immediately-
go, and Chas was like in front of me, and all I remember is like we're both going sideways and the water's getting really close to Chas. And I'm like, this isn't happening. And then before I knew it, my whole face was in the water. I went all the way under, fully clothed, with my camera.
Got all the layers, all the
everything.
equipment.
Did
all
the camera
layers.
survive?
It was a film camera.
So
and
no,
no,
it didn't.
did not survive. But
Nikki went back out on the water though. She
I did.
she
Well,
got
we
back
got
on the
back
horse.
in and then we thought somebody shot the guy.
I forgot about that. These kayaks were like this inflatable company, the same ones we used for our houseboat.
It
when
was
we were
the
having a lot.
same
It was the
company?
same company.
So
Checks
imagine
out.
the plastic was like crinkled in it. And they were, when they got in it,
It
was moving around,
expanded.
and when it got colder, I think it went pop and it like expanded,
But we
but
were
it
like
slapped
a
it.
mile away from like beachable shore.
We were exploring the caves out there.
In like
Wait,
the
so you
depth-
got back in and then it
we got in
exploded out
soaking wet
in the
because,
water.
Yeah, we got
They were
soaking
like, we
wet
already
because we were like,
committed.
whatever, we're already wet. Get back in.
And yeah,
What's
we're
the
like
worst
a
that can
mile
happen? Mile out, and it's like thick seaweed. Like we can't even like row. It's so thick, and I have a severe fear of seaweed, so I'm like, I can't go in this
I was
water.
like, it's not deep water. Like we've been snorkeling out there. It's not deep water,
I'm
but it's
literally
cold
like,
water.
I
Can I say
cannot.
I've never seen two people kayak
so fast. It was like the Roadrunner. Like
Literally.
literally, they were going like.
It sounded like a gunshot, and the way I was looking at all of the rocks, like, is there a sniper? Like, so fast. And I was like, did we just get shot at? And then, like,
Hello.
Our food's here.
but looking around, and then, like, I was just like, oh my God, the thing popped. And Chas, like, immediately, like, we all were like, we gotta go. And Steve was like, we'll go. And then, like, I turn around, there's no care in the world about us, like, drowning or falling in the water. They're just like,
Because we couldn't see any holes. They weren't sinking. We
And-
were confident.
so fast we kayaked that mile back, and I was like, this is unreal. And then I shit you not, from the second we flipped that kayak, things just got worse for both of us for the rest of the year. Like, it was like I was sitting on that beach with a lick of service, and my car was in the shop, and I've had problems with my car forever. My car was in the shop, and I literally get a text with the lick of service that I have, and the guy was like, we're gonna have to do more work on your car. It's like gonna be another $1,000. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I was so upset. And
Then I remember Chas also got a text from our like hiking up the mountain to get service, and she was like, "Oh no, like my tree died or something for my turtles," because she home grows like all of her food for her pets.
yeah, like the
and like
pet sitter
her
failed
fig
or
tree
something.
died or something. Yeah.
Yeah,
We're going kayaking in Singapore.
we're not flipping it.
Inflatable in the middle of a national park that has like no resources is different than a nice kayak in Singapore.
Chas and I intentionally went out in an inflatable kayak like 4 months later and flipped it
to
like,
reverse the bad
reverse our
juju.
luck.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I would like to point out that Steve and I have kayaked in like almost every state and country that we've been to, and not once have we flipped a kayak.
I have
Not yet.
never.
I'm very heavy though, so I feel like I kind of weigh it down to where it's pretty.
That's
stable.
true.
I have never, ever
Okay.
flipped a kayak. That's the only time I've ever flipped a kayak.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's good that you and Chas are a little separated from the chaos.
Yeah.
She also last year when you guys were together, you also took a gas tank out in Australia.
Okay, yeah.
You guys broke down in Australia. What else? What else happened? Like name off the list of all the other crazy things that happened.
At least you don't have broken bones.
Yeah, I mean, like, thankfully, like, nothing has resulted in, like, severe injury or, like, near death, really. Could have been catastrophic type things, but, like, we got to Western Australia, and we were like, oh, yeah, we're gonna, like, borrow a car from some friends, and, like, it was great because it saved us, like, $2,000. But we couldn't drive the car faster than 45 miles an hour, and we were driving the entirety of Western Australia, which is like the same size as the United States, and we did it in like 7 days. And
Wait, why
You guys
couldn't
mobbed.
you drive more than 45 miles an hour?
because the gas mileage would get worse, and the car would start to catch the wind worse, and we would like lose control.
That's
we
scary.
could only drive it so fast, which meant that every chunk of road trip that we took 2 to 6 hours longer than we thought it was going to.
Fantastic.
2 to 6 hours.
That's
longer.
awful.
That's insane.
Yeah.
At that point, I just would have rented a car, honestly.
I had no idea whatsoever that we were going 45 miles an hour until we got back to the US and I did the conversion from kilometers. And I was like, no wonder it took us so
forever.
long. Like, I had no idea. So we had to, like, we drove slow, and then, like, we got there and I like read the tide wrong. So like there were multiple points in Broome where we were just like having to reschedule the whole trip because like we just didn't do the proper research. And then like, this is like anybody who's in Australia and like thriving in the content creator world there, this is your prime opportunity to become really good at blogging. Like immensely good at it. Like drop the exact pin location because the amount of research we had to do to find like specific spots was unreal. We were like reading blog after blog after blog after blog and still not finding
How'd you
places.
find the place in the like? How'd you find the spots in the first place? Just Instagram?
Yeah. Well, there were like Broome, like Roebuck Bay. I had seen like in different things growing up, like magazines and stuff. So I knew that. But there were like there's a specific beach in Roebuck Bay that we wanted to see, which like I just thought Roebuck Bay, like you just show up, and then we got there and we were like, oh no, it's this thing, and it's not where like Google Maps leads you.
Dude, the amount of research I put into every trip that we do is insane. That's
Yeah.
why I'm like, some trips we'll write blogs about. Others we do sell our itineraries. One, because it helps us out, and two, because the amount of hours that I
Yeah.
put into
Yeah.
certain trips, like our Northern Lights trip that we just did around Finland, Norway, Sweden, that took so much time in research. And then same thing with like all of our big ones, like our Canadian Rockies road trip, our
Yeah.
Iceland road trip, like all of those ones just take hours to plan.
Yeah.
Because especially when you're a photographer and you want to make sure that you're getting like at the right place at the right time for like, is it a
Yeah.
sunrise spot or is it a sunset spot or is it a blue
Yeah.
hour spot? And then like, are there closing hours? Are there parking restrictions? Is there like so many other factors to think about that people just don't
And Western
No.
Australia,
Yeah.
it's non-existent. It's like non-existent on the internet to find all of that information. So like we were battling that. And then on top of that, like the very first day, I locked the keys in the car.
nice.
And then the spare wasn't where the spare was supposed to be. Thankfully, one of the back windows didn't close, and Chas's tiny little body could like squeeze in and go unlock the car. And then like the passenger door stopped unlocking and like working at all. Like our second day into the road trip, so
The
we were
way I
climbing
would've.
through the window or through the driver's door every single day. And then
I feel like you guys should like write a script for this and sell it and like create, because I feel like this would
This
be
could be like a good rom-com movie.
Yeah, this would be
Like,
a great movie.
You know that movie Anyone But You that just
Oh my
came
gosh,
out?
that
Like where they're in
movie's so good.
Australia.
It was
I feel
so
like this shit would be
cute.
in
dude,
that movie.
the way I could have had the best meet cute ever with the guy who fixed our AC on the side of the road is like
Shoot your shot right now.
Real. The way that man still slides in my DMs and then ghosts me after he asks me a question and I answer it. Like,
I mean, the time difference is challenging.
That's a good
figure
way
it
to, that's a good way to segue into dating on Instagram. Can you tell me about that?
I don't shit where I eat. How about you, Nikki?
This works okay.
So for context, Steven and I met each other before we even did content creation. So we've been in this for the long haul together from day one. We've never ever had to deal with like dating as content creators, but these two have a different experience. So Lil Nikki met her current boyfriend on Instagram, right?
Yeah. I'd say so.
JGB
Wait,
sliding into the DMs.
I don't know who slid into whose DMs first, and I still need to go back and see. That's going to be a big scroll at this point because this is going to be circa like late 2021, early 2022, because we definitely were like DMing each other before.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. But anyways, it kind of does work.
It's like Tinder, sometimes there's some good success stories. You never
I've
know.
never had Tinder.
No, I mean, I refuse dating apps. So, like, my dating life is
fair.
I feel like it
Non-existent.
would be very difficult if you were doing this and you did not try and date people in the same realm just because of how much we're all gone. Like, I can only imagine if Giselle or if I worked a different job and then trying to, like, if we were gone this much and still had like a significant other at home, I feel like it'd be very, very difficult.
I haven't been home since January something.
Exactly. Like, I think that'd be
Like if you weren't dating someone else who traveled a lot.
Yeah.
I had, like, if I, like, met somebody who also had some kind of, like, creative
Like nomadic
job.
lifestyle.
Well, it doesn't even have to be like nomadic, but like some kind of like creative job where like they're also gone or they're also working on big projects of some kind.
So you can understand each other.
Yeah, we can understand each other and like still be supportive of that and like really appreciate the time where we are together. I think I'd be okay with that because in all of my past relationships, like I'm not somebody who like has ever been like travels for something and been like chronically messaging the person like, oh my god, I miss you so much, blah, 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 blah. Like I'm just like living my fucking life, and then like
You resume when you get back.
yeah, the end of the day I'm like, hey, it's the end of the day, I made it home, like how was your day, tell me, like, you know, like have the end of the day catch
Yeah.
up. But like I still am like, I'm so excited to be living my life here. Like of course I wish it could be done together in the best way possible, but at the end of the day it still doesn't like, it's never affected me in that way
Yeah, totally.
where I think, I mean, it's affected the other people in the relationship. Obviously, I'm single, so like things haven't worked out for various reasons. But like, I feel like if somebody was in a creative space, even if they were like had their own, you know, they're shooting a movie or something, off doing whatever for 8 months, and I'm doing my whatever for 8 months, then I think it'd be okay.
Yeah.
But I don't know if trying to combine social media worlds would work.
I feel like that's very interesting. I was going to ask, one of the biggest questions that we get a lot is how is it like working and traveling with a significant other? Because we feel like we've done a very good job of breaking it apart, but we also are on the same account. And
Not
you
like
and
separate
JJ
accounts, yeah.
are on completely separate accounts, like not
Different
different niches,
content.
but like very different. So how has it been with like he's shooting jobs, you're shooting jobs, you're both working, you're both also trying to be in a relationship? What's that been like?
No.
Chaos.
No, it's not chaos. I mean, it's been super fun. I don't even know how many countries we've done together at this point, but we
It's a
have
competition.
basically it is a competition who can have more, and I'm winning.
Because I feel like people always think like,
little
okay, you guys are off traveling the world together, doing this.
Like, isn't
doing
that a dream?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people just think like all we do is run around it. But I feel like you said, a lot goes into it.
There is a lot that goes into it. It has its ups and downs. Like, I mean, I'm the type of person that likes to be like close and cuddly and snuggly and hello, are you there type thing. And he's not. But we also have our moments where we'll like shoot sunrise and sunset. Like if we're on a travel itinerary that's going to be a long time. Like our last one was a long time, over a month. Like we were out.
Yeah, that's pretty long.
Like we'll have time in the day when we're just like chilling, doing nothing, like both just on our phones, like not speaking to each other.
Honestly, you always need that. Like I need my scrolly time, you know?
Sometimes I'll go for a walk.
I think
I've started doing those like little hot girl walks
Yeah.
on my own.
I do that too. I take Karen out and I'm like, I need my me time, even though like
I take a me
I
time
love
walk in
Steven.
the morning. I'm not even in a relationship.
I was like, I love you,
I need my me
but I
time.
need my me time because like even as a couple, I think it's so important that you still have your individuality and your own hobbies and your own interests. And so like he'll go off golfing with the boys and I'll go to yoga, or we'll like try and separate it out when we're traveling. I feel like you'll go to the gym still and I'll just like sit and doom scroll and it's fantastic.
Yeah, I feel
Or I'll
like-
go to the
Yeah.
spa or something, you know?
I also think that like because I'm from Canada and he's from the States, when I go back to Canada, it has been like 2 or 3 months like of our own time and stuff. And I definitely need to get better at it because I'm not someone that loves to be alone.
I
Steven's the
agree.
same way.
That's my
I'm like-
biggest fear. I hate
I don't
being
like being
alone.
alone.
blows my mind.
But like I can also go out with my girlfriends and that kind of gets my mind off of things. But yeah, I could be better at not being so like,
Attached.
hello, attention please. But yeah, that's just something
You're
I
just
have to
a
work
golden
on.
retriever.
I just like, I like friends.
Yeah.
How
that's
do you
great.
how do you guys manage with friends and being gone all the time? Or Nikki, like you lived in Arizona and now you're living in California. I mean, I hope we're your friends, but I mean, traveling all over the place. Like, how do you guys keep in touch, or how do you meet new people that are out in the outdoor niche when you're trying to get into it? Like, I'm sure there's some people listening that are in the outdoor niche, or maybe they go and hike by themselves. Like, how do you meet other people that love to do the adventure travel?
I think I randomly meet people, like we'll be at a sunrise spot and someone will come over and be like, are you Nikki? Or like that's happened a couple times. Or just like maybe close friend stories, or like the little note bubbles or whatever.
Oh, that actually happens a lot where we'll put like, oh, we're in Mallorca. And then everyone's like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm coming here too. Let's meet up. And we're like, oh, cool.
I mean, I definitely don't share my location in the moment for like
Safety reasons.
safety, security reasons. Sometimes if it's like a general area where I'm with like other people, then yeah, but if it's to people that I know, I'll definitely use like that note bubble and say like I'm in a certain place, because being in this space, nobody knows where anyone is at any point in time.
No one's posting in
No
real
one's
time.
posting in real time. No one like
I mean, how many times have we asked today, where's Mana? Is she back from Nepal? Like, literally, because we don't know.
She's still there.
Yeah.
I got confirmation. Yes.
I feel like everyone just needs to share their location.
Yeah,
Like,
I
oh,
think
look.
we need to find Mai for like just the travel content creators so we know where everyone is in the world.
But yeah, I just think like meeting random people out or sliding into people's DMs. Like the worst that's gonna happen if you slide into someone's DMs is you're just not gonna get a response. And
Yeah.
Or they say
just-
no.
It's fine. Like my messages are so bad because my request folder doesn't show up. It shows up maybe like 40% of the time.
Really?
What?
Yeah, so
That's wild.
like 60% of the time, if I click on my request folder, it doesn't exist. Like there's no messages, there's no nothing.
Wow.
And it's so annoying and so frustrating. So
Because then you miss a lot of stuff.
if you've DM'd me, that's why like they just do not show up.
Yeah, I simply like can't keep up with like the DMs and stuff like that. But I will say, I think like for me, moving around and like making friends on the road and stuff like that, it's simply like
You just
it's-
do.
yeah, like social media, I would say probably 90% of the time is like how I'm meeting people. And like you said, like DMs, if I find somebody's like after I do the story thing where I click on their page and I'm like, ooh, is there anything relatable? Or I feel like they're a real person, or like,
Mutual friends.
yeah, mutual friends.
Mutual follows.
Yeah, that will also happen too. But like, then I just like, I'm a serial responder in stories. Like, I'm all up in people's stories. Like,
I react all the time.
Yeah.
I love doing that.
yeah, me too. But I'm like, even people I don't know, that, I mean, that's essentially how we all met, is like, I'm just DMing people acting like we're best friends already. Like, I already know everything about you. And then even though I know nothing really, it's like, then it leads to something where we're like all together, or I've met you, or I'll be like, hey, I'm in New York. And people will be like, oh my God, let's hang out, or whatever. And then the rest of the time it's, you're literally just like walking the street, like in hostels or like on a hike or whatever. You just meet somebody and you vibe and you're like, okay, cool. Like, I'll see you. Like, I met a girl this is crazy. Went on a cruise in the Mediterranean, not this last summer, but the summer before, and spent a week in Rome afterwards with my brother. And on our last night, we were sitting in like a town square type thing, just eating pizza, drinking, like watching people. And this guy and this girl sat down next to us at a table real close, because that's how...
'Cause European seating.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's how Europeans do it. And my brother and I, like the whole trip, he had always made it very clear to people, like right away, that we were siblings. Because,
We are not dating.
yeah, he was like, this is my
We're
sister.
not dating. We're not dating.
And the people next to us, like, he said it, and they were, oh my God, me too. And it was the first people we had met where they were like also siblings.
That's
On
fun.
the trip. So then we sat there and we chatted, and the girl and I like exchanged Instagrams. And then like the following January, she was like, she's a flight attendant, and she was like, hey, I have a week off and I really want to go somewhere. Do you want to like pack a bag? And like, we'll just pick a place, whatever plane is the most empty. And I was like, yeah, let's do
Sick.
it.
That's so fun.
So she like flew me out for the price of whatever she could get a flight to like Dallas. And then we looked at the flights and we were like, okay, we're going to Guatemala. And we just like got on a plane.
That's how you ended up there?
That's
oh, that's so
insane.
fun.
Yeah, and
I need
then
a flight attendant friend.
and then when we got off the plane, we were trying to find a shuttle to Antigua to get to our hotel. And we saw a girl like backpacking, and I was like, I think that girl's looking for a shuttle. And so we went up to her and we started talking to her. We talked to her the whole ride, got her information, and then like 5 days later met up with her again in Antigua and like had dinner together and just like bullshitted and had a good time. But it's just
Yeah.
like inserting yourself like in conversations when you're out, or like just saying hi to people.
It can be scary
Yeah.
though. I
Yeah,
will say,
it is
like putting
scary.
yourself out there, especially in person. I'm like, oh my gosh, what if this person like doesn't.
Oh, I've had people
respond.
totally just like, whoop.
I went to an Outdoorsy Gals event. Have you guys
Oh, yeah.
like heard of that? And there was one down in Malibu, like kind of where we were earlier today, like near
Yeah.
the 3rd Street Promenade in Abbot Kinney. They were doing like a beach cleanup, like not last year, maybe like 2 years ago for Earth Day. And there was like a sound bath meditation and all this stuff. And I constantly like, I need more girlfriends because all of my best like girlfriends from college are spread out all over the world or all over
Yeah.
the States particularly. And all of my travel content creator friends are usually not here because we're all traveling.
Yeah.
So it's hard to like have in-person girl time a lot. And so I went and I went solo. I was like, I'm going to go make some friends at this outdoorsy girls
Yay.
event. And I get there and it was so disappointing because
No way.
everyone rolled up with like other people there and didn't really chat. And I was like trying to like, hi, like I'm Giselle, nice to meet you. They would just like go off in their little pairs that they came with. And I'm like, wow, this is so embarrassing. Not embarrassing, but like
It's really disheartening.
I drove 2 hours to go put myself out there and I like went away empty handed. And I was like, the sound bath is cool. The earth cleanup, like awesome.
Yeah.
Like go pick up some trash at the beach. But I
Yeah.
called Steve and I was like, damn, I was really hoping to meet like some cool gals here. And I met no one.
I've been to like a couple like girl curated events like that where I just like went by myself and like the same thing happened where it's like somebody like it's like everybody kind of like partially knew each other from like the group or whatever
Yeah.
and then they all just kind of like cling to each other.
Yeah.
And I'm like my favorite way to interject is like I'll just listen and wait for somebody to say something relatable and then like punch myself into the conversation.
That's how I can tell you're probably good at flirting.
It's been a couple years since I've tried, but I did teach.
We're gonna
prom
find you a man in
apparently worked.
Singapore.
Please.
But wasn't Crazy Rich Asians like? Didn't they go to Singapore? Or did they go somewhere else?
Probably. Singapore is like the Vegas of like Asia, I feel like.
It's
It's like
very
Dubai,
true.
honestly.
Yeah, we'll just
Let's
find
go.
you a lovely
Somebody.
somebody
A lovely, nice, rich man
Yeah.
who travels.
at our
Sweet.
pool party that we
Manifest.
get to go to.
Independence.
Pool
That gives you
party.
independence, but also attention.
Yeah.
Anyways,
That's what I need.
yeah. I forget what we're talking about.
I'm very curious because one of the questions that I think, or my favorite travel question I feel like we've gotten in a long time is like, what do you guys look for when you're going somewhere? Like, what makes you like, oh, this is the next spot I want to go, or oh, I have this spot on my bucket list for so long. Like, why do you travel
To
to,
the
that
places you go to.
place?
Opportunity.
In what way?
A travel company reached out to me and said, "Hey, you want to go to Patagonia? We have a free spot."
Okay, so yours
yeah.
is
Okay,
more
okay.
like if someone invites you, you'll send it.
Yeah,
but
or
it's
my
not
friends
like
say
you're.
like, "Hey, I don't remember the last time like I intentionally planned a trip just because I wanted to go."
Really? That's
Yeah.
so interesting.
I really want to like get to that point again, but like
but it's kind of
also-
cool that you're like so go with the flow.
Yeah, and like I really like that. And so far it's led me to like really cool places. But I think like probably the next closest thing is still like we're going to Norway.
Yeah.
But like that still was like you guys
A
were
group
just like,
trip, yeah.
Hey, like I'm not gonna say no to like my friends going to Norway. Like,
Very
No,
true.
You know what
that's
I mean?
pretty. I'll say yes and I'll go just go anywhere.
You guys are both very down girls.
My bucket list was this big, and then it just got like
That big,
and
yeah.
now it's getting like
Bigger.
huge.
The more you travel, the more you grow your bucket list, which is the ironic thing.
Yeah.
Like I feel like originally before we started doing this, I was like, oh, I want to go to these like 10 countries. And you go and you're like, oh, that was sick. But what if I went
What
here
if I went
instead?
here, here, here?
Yeah,
Or-
and then somebody
and I
says
wanna
like,
go
"Have you
back."
been here?" Like you're sitting there drinking your margarita, and somebody's like, "Have you been to blah blah blah?" And you're like, "No."
No.
And then
Let's
you see
go.
something on Instagram and you're like, shoot, this looks amazing.
I know.
Yeah.
So it just keeps
Yeah.
getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which is amazing because, I mean,
the whole world's so
we got a
cool.
lot
Yeah.
to explore.
Yeah.
But I feel like my follow-up question to that then is like, out of all the different travel experience you've done, which one has been like, wow, one travel experience was like the coolest, most memorable experience that I've had. Like I feel like all of ours have to do with like natural wonders, like seeing firefalls, seeing the northern lights, going and seeing a volcano explode. Like, what do you think would be like your big travel experience? You're like, wow, that was insane.
Socotra.
And just the
I can't
whole
wait to
country.
see more of your Socotra content.
We'll get to editing that for sure. Socotra's like kind of way, that one doesn't really count though because it's kind of like obscure to get to. It's hard.
But I feel like that's exactly why it counts.
Yeah, it counts. But like I'd say other than that, like maybe like when I did Lofoten.
Yeah, that's
That
a
was
standout.
so-
I mean, we're going there twice this year, so
Yeah,
I get that
it's
one.
so beautiful. We got so lucky with weather when we were there too. The sunrises and sunsets when I went late August, early September were so long. But I think a lot of like outdoor mountainy destinations just stick out to
For
me
sure.
because that's what I like
Yeah.
to do versus cities.
Yeah.
However, I will say that Istanbul was one of the coolest cities I've been to.
We haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
We need to get out there.
It was pretty amazing.
Istanbul was my least favorite place I'd ever been. The first time I went. The first time I went, though.
Nikki loves to put out these controversial opinions.
Dude, I'll say In-N-Out is the best. Nikki freaking just
She's like, I
smokes it.
hate that.
Maybe
I
we
know.
should go to-
I never said I hated it.
I'm like,
I
we
just
should
said
go
it's
to-
overrated. And
We should go to get
That's
Panda.
basically what you said. You know those TikToks where it's
Panda
like,
Express.
my wife said she wanted to divorce me. And it's like, I didn't say that. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, what did you say then? In-N-Out sucks.
It's basically the same thing.
That's exactly, basically
Yeah.
the same thing. But I didn't like Istanbul, but I think it was because I went on a cruise and it was the middle of like peak hot summer season.
Oh my gosh. Anywhere in
Yeah,
Europe.
that'll
And
And it was like, it was just horrible. And like my guide just didn't care. It was just a really, really, really terrible experience. And then an opportunity presented itself for me to go back. And I was like, yeah, sure, sounds great. And I went and I was like, okay, the city is sick.
So much
It's
better.
so cool.
you had a redemption.
I did. I had the redemption. I do think it's really great, but I will say that I think like all of my most memorable and like favorite travel experiences are like nature related things.
Yeah.
Like the volcano in Iceland, Switzerland with the group, that was amazing. Patagonia was on another level. Like those things always like stand out.
I just feel like when it comes to cities, all of them look very similar.
feel the same. They
They feel the
don't-
same. I feel like all of the cities get to a certain point, and they're like, okay, same stores, same kind of look, same like we did.
Like very similar architecture.
Yeah, we did a Mediterranean cruise for 2 weeks, and it was
We
like
did 10
every single
stops.
day it was a different city. And after a certain point, by like 7
looks
through
You're like,
7 through
Lisbon
10,
looks like, I don't know, like
yeah, I'm like
Porto,
Rome.
the same
like,
country.
yeah.
I'm like I can go find pizza anywhere I want. I feel like especially now. I mean, I feel like maybe 50 years ago, all the cities would be very dramatically different. But I feel like they just took the model of what city looks the best or what city is the most popular, and they're just like copy and paste to every.
And
single
this is
other
a
city.
generalized statement to big cities. Like there's
Facts.
definitely some really
Yeah.
cute smaller cities, like
Yeah.
Italy, for example.
And there's ones that are worse, like LA.
Yeah. but like Italy, for example, like Rome will look really similar to like another big city, but then we
Like
go
Rome
to like
and Barcelona, for
right,
example.
yeah, super similar vibes. But then you go to a spot like Verona or something, and it's
Yeah.
super cute and a little smaller.
I
and-
think that also rings true because it's like so much easier to like experience a city through somebody else's eyes, like via social media. Like it's very easy to like, or TV or whatever. To me, it's very easy to like walk into a city and be like, oh yeah, like I know exactly where I'm at because I've watched this many TikToks or this and it was just easy for me to get here. Like you kind of already had the experience in consuming whatever inspired you to go there.
It's an interesting thought.
Even when you're doing the more like nature-based things, like
You need
going
to
to
put in effort.
Patagonia and like seeing the things in Patagonia or like going to the volcano and like hiking up through a cloud to see that, like you're physically putting yourself through so much to get there.
Yeah.
And like there's so much thought that goes into like those more nature-based experiences where like nobody's documenting every single step of
Yeah.
that hike.
There's a high effort but also high reward ratio, I feel like, with that, whereas like the cities, it's like super low effort. So
Yeah, very low effort. Where like I think, at least for me, like the nature things stand out because like I can't tell you how many videos I saw of that volcano in Iceland, and then I got there and it looked totally different because obviously the volcano is changing and erupting and doing different things. And I was in a cloud and I had no idea what to expect. And there's not like I can't get on all trails and like follow a map. Like there was
Yeah.
so many things I had to put myself through to get there that
Yeah.
it just became this like big profound experience for me.
So I feel like that's a good segue to ask Steven's favorite podcast question that we end every episode with.
This is the first question I ever asked G. So
Which
what
is why we ask it.
What is the craziest thing you've ever done? And it
Could be traveling, could be at home.
I love it because I feel like it's so broad that you can go a ton of different ways. We've got, like G was saying, people have been like, oh, I've eaten like a tarantula. Other people were like, oh, I saw this crazy sunrise. Other people like, there was this party on a rooftop. Like, they're all so vastly different.
Dude, I think Karen is gassing us out.
Yeah, I was like, what is this about?
I think she let one rip. I'm like sitting over here
I
like,
can't smell anything.
Jesus.
If you're
Dude.
listening and you don't know who Karen is, she is our dog.
She's our
and
little 15-pound chihuahua, and she knows how to clear a room.
Oh boy. Oh my God. The craziest thing I've ever done.
I feel like there's so many categories of crazy.
We've
Exactly.
had
That's-
such a variety of answers on this podcast.
That's why I
It's
love
great.
this. I love this question.
This could go many ways. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like mine for a long time was going and climbing Mount Whitney. That when I was 14, like that was one of the craziest things because we were like up there. I was the youngest person to climb it that year, so that was like my favorite thing for like a long time.
by 2014, I had done, I think, 21 to 24 countries, only because I did a semester in Europe and it's so easy to travel. So, like, I crushed a bunch of countries. But from, like, I'd say 2022 to now, in 2 years, I've basically doubled that.
Wow,
Singapore will be country 41.
that's crazy.
So,
Oh, you're like
I
one
mean-
ahead of us.
Ooh.
She's in the
She's
lead.
bringing more people into the competition.
Okay, so I think I have my answer. The craziest, I don't know how to word this properly, but I think the craziest thing I've ever done was like take the chance on myself to make this life happen.
I like that.
Yeah.
Love it. That's really good.
Because, well, I mean, COVID, obviously everyone went through that time, and that was the best thing that ever happened to me because I was going to sign a contract to be like management type stuff days before or like days after the
actual lockdown.
the actual lockdown happened. And if COVID never happened, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking about all of the crazy shit that I've done in the last
I
2
totally
years.
agree.
Same. Like without COVID, we would not be here because
Yeah.
Yeah, I keep
There's no
thinking
way.
about like the butterfly effect trend
Oh, yeah,
that's
I
like
like
going
that.
around. And
Yeah.
like I don't know who I was talking to the other day, but they actively were like talking about like one specific very obscure thing that like changed their life, and I like had this moment where I was like, I think mine was like I was living in Austria. I was like 4 years into a relationship with somebody. We had moved there and like didn't have the visas to stay and like we're intending to stay, and we went to the immigration office, and the person that was there, my friend who was there helping me translate, had her kid and was like in a hurry to get out of there, and my partner at the time had pulled the ticket to be called before me like first, and so
Yeah.
we were like, let's switch. And I remember like sitting there being like, oh, do I want to do that? Like, do I want to like it just felt like a thing. And I like now had this huge memory of just like so vividly being like, yeah, let's switch so she can go. And my visa got denied because I got the no guy in the office, and my whole life changed. My whole life
that's
changed.
crazy.
So is that the
Wow.
craziest thing you've ever done? Is
No, I can't even
Yeah.
say. I mean, like at the time, it was insane. Like I had never left the country and moved to Austria. Like I just moved and I did zero research. I just went. And so like that was insane, but also it's like insane that I went to Iceland solo and climbed a volcano through a cloud with like no trail. Like it's also insane that I just like say yes to meeting strangers in Mexico, and it's like, you know, it's insane that I just call people up I don't know and say like, let's go to.
want to go to Singapore?
Yeah, it's also crazy that I tell my friends to book me a ticket to jump off a cliff in Switzerland. Like it's
That was funny. No,
You
you
know?
didn't ask. I just took command
Full
on that
control.
one.
yeah. I was like,
said,
don't
"You
tell me what
guys,"
we're doing, just book it.
I said, you guys, I have this idea, and all 7 of us are gonna go jump off a cliff. That is it. I've already booked it. You can't go back. That's that's how that went.
It was fantastic.
And everyone loved it. Everyone had a great time.
I would have had a minor panic attack, but I would have done it.
yeah,
I was
And
gonna
the-
say we had a few people freaking out. Mana jumped head first, which she was not supposed to do.
literally head first. They said, don't jump like you're skydiving.
Like
And we
whatever
all
you
turned
do,
around
do
and
not
Mana's
jump
like,
head first.
I also
What did
think
she
I've
do?
never heard a scream like the scream Mona